We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order for December 2nd. Please stand for the invocation. Bobby Campbell.
Father God, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for all you have done for us. And we want to take this time and ask everybody if they would to just take a moment of silence for Sandy Knott. Father God, we always continue to believe that you and know that you have all power and all powers in your hand, God. We don't always understand death. We don't always understand why things happen, but we know, Lord, that it's in your hands. We ask you to bless this community, continue to bless this city council. Bless all our members, God. Be with them and continue to strengthen them. Protect them, Father God. Give them the wisdom they need, the courage they need to continue to lead our city. We ask you to pray for we ask you to bless all of our city officials. Be with our mayor, Father God. Be with all the persons who work on our staff. God, continue to protect and watch over our first responders. God, I ask you to be with everyone who's present tonight. God, whether they're on their agenda or not on the agenda, be with them, watch over them, help them with what they present, what they came here for, that it be for the good of this community. God, help us all to come together as one, because, God, this is our community, and we want it to be a great community. We want it to be a community that's here for all of our kids, our grandkids, and our great-grandkids, and for people to come who have not been here. This is a special community. But God, you're the one who makes it special. And God, we ask you, if you would, please, to help us all to understand the reason for this season. God, we thank you for you and for Jesus Christ and his birth. God, help us to understand that we want to be giving and loving during this season. We ask it all in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson White.
Present.
Councilperson Harris.
Here.
Councilperson Michaels.
Here.
Councilperson Gill. Here. Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Councilperson Spalding.
Present.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect there are 9 council present.
All right, we have minutes to be approved from November 18th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th, 2019.
Second. We have a motion second to approve the minutes. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. A motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, claims to be approved. Civil first.
Civil City claims tonight are $1,609,718.26.
All claims in order.
Yes.
I just want to draw to your attention that reason why it looks so high, that $796,662.13 was for paving. All the paving came in at once. So if nobody has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve the Civil City claims for $1,609,718.26.
Second. Motion second to approve the claims. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, next up, Parks claims.
Parks are $43,707.51.
All claims in order.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the parks claims for $43,707.51.
Second.
Motion second to approve the Parks claims as submitted. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Report of the clerk. All right, unfinished business. Lisa Gill, Clark County Cares.
Yes, and I received notice this morning that their request is for the $5,000 like originally I'd let the council know. And we have, in our special projects, we have the $4,564.84. I propose we use that. And then we have $3,000 in our special projects for that to come out of, and that'll just be a little transfer. I can just put an email in for the controller, copy council, and that's just a simple transfer. to get that done, but we do need to get an invoice in this year. So I think, I see a couple here from Clark County Care, but I'll contact them if nobody has any objections to that, or if anybody has anything else to add for them to get the invoice in for that.
Do we need to take any action on a motion?
I think so. So I'll make that motion for the $5,000 for Clark County Cares, with it coming out of our special projects and also our promotion fund.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to support up to $5,000 for Clark County Cares. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
Thank you all.
Next up, item number 10, Ms. Metcalf, 2019 OR 66, ordinance transferring certain funds within the same department.
There's no changes.
Motion to approve 2019 OR 66 and third and final.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 66 in the third and final reading. Any other discussion?
I have a question. Heather, do you know, we're transferring it out of salt and all that, because we're at the end of this year, didn't use it, and we got a new allotment for next year, or?
Yeah, I believe that it's self-purchased for this year already.
Thank you.
I did double check that, and we are fine. They assure me they're fine. Let's just hope.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Ms. Metcalf, 2019 OR 67, an ordinance of additional appropriation, passed in first and second reading in our last meeting, and this is a public hearing.
Yes, and there's no changes.
There's no changes. And this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against or regarding 2019 OR 67, an ordinance of additional appropriation? Seeing no one, we're going to go ahead and close public hearing. And yep, go right ahead.
Motion to approve 19 OR 67 on final.
Second.
A motion second to pass 2019 OR 67 in third and final reading. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
One in opposition. All right, next up, new business, item number 12. Lynn Ashak. Must be about sewers.
It's about funding, but it's about sewers, yes.
What's going to be the ordinance number?
68.
68, okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir and ma'am. Before you, you have a proposed ordinance to allow the sewer board to bond $53,135,000. Just a little history first. In 2012, you passed ordinance OR 2012 OR 45, which authorized the sewer board to bond $50 million. Of that $50 million bonding, the sewer board bonded $11,867,000 to build a lift station to offload the majority of the flow from the downtown plant to North Treatment Plant. And then all of the port, anything north of 265 now flows to the North Treatment Plant, which allows the downtown plant to handle more capacity. In 2012, we thought that the $50 million would be enough because the estimated cost of the interceptor project and the long-term control plan improvements was $33 million. Well, that was in 2009. In 2019, those numbers changed drastically. So what this ordinance allows us to do, and you should have a memo written by our financial advisor, Sycamore Advisors. Those of you who've been to some of the council or the sewer board meetings with council members knows Diana Hamilton. And we have two projects that are outstanding. We've been exchanging correspondence back and forth with the federal government, Department of Justice, and this is the last submittal we submitted to them November 20th of this year, which hopefully will put a final piece together so it'll allow them to approve our revisions to the long-term control plan, which are, we're not going to build the interceptor as it was sized back in 2009. It's going to be a smaller interceptor. And in the meantime, the IDEM, with its infinite wisdom, put phosphorus limits on both the downtown plant and the North Treatment Plant. So the first project that's out to bid as we speak is to make improvements at the downtown treatment plant, which will allow the wet weather capacity to be increased from 50 million gallons a day to 75 million gallons a day, which then provides a level of treatment to any overflows that go to Cane Run, which goes through Clarksville. And if you all know, Clarksville has an issue with what Jeffersonville is sending them every time it rains, anytime it rains. It doesn't make a difference if it's a quarter inch or 2 inches like we had over the weekend. And that project is estimated to cost about $15 million, $15.5 million. The second phase is the Interceptor project, which is going to reduce the overflows to the Ohio River from what we currently experience, which is about every rainfall, to four overflows in a typical year. That project is estimated to cost $30.76 million. So what this ordinance does, it reaffirms the 2012 ordinance, increases the funding capacity to $53.135 million to allow us to pay for, through SRF loans, both projects, the Interceptor project and the Downtown Treatment Plant Improvement project. Also, it allows us to, if we need to, contribute more money to offset the cost of the flood control pump station at Cane Run in Clarksville, although it's not anticipated. It also allows the sewer board to refund 2 bonds that we have with SRF, 2008, 2009, which potentially can save the city $500,000 over the term of the loan. So, other than that, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. It's not going to increase another $53 million. It's going to increase the bonding capacity by $15 million to $53,135,000. So I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Well, I just want to add or reiterate, just so we got new people in the audience. When he said about reducing the size of the Interceptor, you all remember when we approved the funding for the stormwater and sewer separation project on 8th Street? What that does is taking all that water and the sewer, and we're going to pump it to the pump station, and it's going to be treated at the plant.
Yep.
It's not going to be going into the Interceptor or the Ohio River, so that's why the Interceptor was reduced. And the second thing is, as you all know, I've been a part of this all from the beginning, the Department of Justice and the EPA contacted, and this is their latest letter and responses, so it's been going back and forth and back and forth. And the sewer board has been amazing, and the consultants and all with, basically, the last letter that was received, correct me if I'm wrong, they need to see the funding, that we have the capability. And in other words, we need to show this to support that projects that he mentioned. Remember, we had the whole list of projects and the time frame when they're all to be done. That 8th Street project was part of it. We have to get all this stuff done, and it's just another thing to do that we have to submit to them to insure them and to do all we can to prevent a sewer rate increase.
The most important thing is this bond ordinance will not raise sewer rates. The sewer rates will be the same as they are today. They won't go down any, but they won't go up at all. So there's enough resources with the sewer rates, sewer bills going out because of the increased number of residential customers, and River Ridge is really helping out because they've got a lot of development out there that is increasing the water use, which increases the revenues to the sewer board. So we paid off back, the second loan will repay the city $3.5 million that we paid cash for the band that we issued to do some of the studies. And repay Redevelopment Commission $1.6 million, which they paid for phase 1 of the Interceptor project, which goes through the Gateway project that's being built as we speak. So it's going to reimburse some of the coffers that we've spent money out of pocket to build things that we needed to get done to comply with federal government requirements.
And the big price tag was when they said we had to do address the phosphorus.
That increased,
And then we had to
changed
do
the whole thing.
the high rate clarifier. So there was things that they had us do that we didn't anticipate on. So that's why we're.
So the high rate clarifier is going to allow us to meet the phosphorus limits at the downtown treatment plant, and when the flows pick up like they did on Saturday, it'll be decoupled from phosphorus removal to handle chemically enhanced primary treatment before it gets discharged to either Cane Run or to the Mill Creek effluent sewer. So,
Question, when redevelopment fronted the money, was it understood to be a loan at the time?
we're paying them, they paid half, we're paying them back over a 5-year period. This is our 4th payment. So we reimburse our coffers to the money we paid back to redevelopment, and then redevelopment, they get paid another $800,000 or some change.
Thank you.
So everybody will get paid off. So,
I have a question. Will the expansion of the downtown plant affect the air quality for the local residents?
in fact, it'll improve air quality, but as part of that project was to increase the blower capacity for the digesters, which is the source of the smell at the downtown treatment plant for the most part.
Good.
So that project is part of the SRF loan, but the sewer board paid for that project and are going to get reimbursed for that, the $1.5 million we've already spent on that project, in the hopes of us getting an SRF loan. And the PERs, the preliminary engineering reports that were developed by both Lockmiller Group and JTL have been approved by SRF, which means we will get funded. One this in January of next year, and one in the late spring, early summer of next year. So both loans are ready to be closed as soon as SRF is able to come up with the money. So it's really a done deal from SRF. And the interest rate, as I understand, is going to be 2% for the 2% for both loans. For the loan for the treatment plant, it's a 20-year loan. The loan for the interceptor project's a 35-year loan. So, and that's going to keep the rates way low, so we don't have to raise the rates at all. Because one of the things we were told early on, and one of the things I didn't want to do is come to you and ask for a rate increase, because that's not going to happen. So that's why we reduced the size of the interceptor and keep the cost down and still meet the requirements of what EPA expects of the city of Jeffersonville.
I'm smiling because when you're sitting across the Department of Justice attorneys and EPA and with IDEM and all them, and I look at them as the city council, and I'm like, we're not going to raise sewer rates. And they kind of like looked at us like, how are you going to get around that? Well, you know what? We did. Hopefully we did.
Yeah, so it does, the rates are high enough that it's already imposing an economic burden on people, especially living in the inner city. So those rates are not going to go up at all. So, any other questions? I do want to thank the City Council who has been working with us for the last, this started in 2009, and we've been hot and heavy with the EPA and Department of Justice since 2016, going back and forth to get this document changed so that they can all go about their merry way. So we think the projects that are out there are going to work and probably do more than we expect them to do. So.
Any other questions?
Is this a one and done type
No,
of deal?
three.
So I'll make a motion to approve 19 OR 68 in the first and second.
I second that.
We have a motion second to pass 2019 OR 68 and the first and second reading. Any other discussion?
I just want to thank Lynn and Dale is here. As I tell you, they've put in a lot of long hours to get us to where we're at, and a lot of executive sessions, a lot of meetings, a lot of traveling, so thank you.
And a lot of paper.
A lot of paper.
A lot of paper. We have no idea how much paper.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? There you go. Passes. Item number 13, public hearing of 2019 OR 69 regarding changing of zoning map and a zoning code change. Mr. Merkley.
This is a rezoning that comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. In fact, this was not initiated by the city, but it was suggested by the city, the Planning Department, to rezone this property. This is at 902 East 10th Street. It's basically a budget print. And what we are trying to do is the corridor along 10th Street in this area, we're trying to bring some conformity to the zoning along that portion of 10th Street to be consistent with our long-term master plan, and this would rezone that property from C1, small to medium scale, general commercial, to neighborhood commercial. So the plan is to have all that along there neighborhood commercial, which gives more flexibility and probably fits better into the surrounding area. So this would be a public hearing.
Before you open up public hearing, did anybody speak at planning and zoning?
No, not on this matter, no.
All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for 2019 OR 69. Is there anyone here to speak for or against or regarding this rezoning? Seeing no one, we're going to go ahead and close public hearing. Any other questions or concerns?
He said motion. No,
There's a motion, and
he was quiet.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion second to pass 2019 OR 69. It's a one and done for zoning purposes. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Mr. Merkley, you're up for another rezone. This is for 101 Noah's Lane.
Yes. Again, a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. This is for the development, as we know, as Noah's Ark. I know that there is representatives here that will present what they are proposing. This needs to be rezoned because this was a PUD, initially established as a PUD many years ago. And for that PUD, there was a specific reason for the PUD, which was for in-home, in-home.
You're doing great,
Foster care?
Foster care, in-home foster care. That program has not been in existence for quite some time. So we were trying to bring Noah's Ark into compliance with its own PUD, Family Ark. And then also, I believe they are also changing the scope of what they're doing. I believe they are here to present that as well, I hope. Is someone here from? Yes, you can come up.
There's a couple people who signed up to speak regarding this issue, and it's going to be a public hearing, so you'll have a chance to speak during the public hearing after the presentation.
Councilman, Councilwoman, my name is Eric Goodman, 100 East 12th Street, Jeffersonville, Indiana. The company's name is Form G Companies, and we're here to represent Family Ark today. And Eric Merton is with our company as well. He's passing out a presentation. I'm here with Janine Jacobs, who's President and CEO of Family Ark, Andrew Settle, and also Christy Glotzback to represent Family Ark as well. Is everybody generally familiar with the location of this property? Okay, 85 acres right off Allison Lane, pretty predominant piece of acreage. And just want to start off, give you a little bit of background about Family Ark, whose history has been serving the community for over 45 years, even though the name has evolved over time. But they've been back there since the 90s, and then as Celeste mentioned, they had changed operations back in 2015 where ribbon cutting was done, and it was a successful operation to enhance their services. A few of the things to note about Family Ark is that they're a nonprofit group. They've somehow managed to do amazing things on a very limited budget for this amount of time especially. They are there to help women and children in the community, and then like I said, they've been doing it for 45 years. They're not a detoxification clinic. So there was a few rumors that went around after our neighborhood meeting. We had about 9 people in attendance. It was a pleasant meeting. Several conversations about lighting, speeding, traffic, and other general questions that we'll mention here in a minute. Also, the women and children, they spend their first 30 to 45 days on the campus under 24-hour supervision. That's via cameras, direct supervision through staff, and then also there's on-call staff for the ultimate protection. Their hours of operations are around 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And after that first 30 to 45 days, women and children are there for about 3 to 6 months to continue on their training in life. And Family Ark offers community group workforce sessions, basically generally things that we might take for granted, like budgeting classes, cooking classes, and how to get women back on their feet so that they can take care of their children and prepare them for the future. I want to move into the presentation and go into some of the technical matters. As Mr. Merkley mentioned, it was originally zoned for PUD, and over the amount of time that they've been back there, the uses have changed. Unfortunately, in Jeffersonville, we do not have the ability to amend a PUD without going through the rezoning process, which raises a lot of flags. However, the property naturally lends itself to this particular use. Generally, in a community, you would look for an open space. You would look for good proximity to all of the other ancillary uses, but then also a nice buffer between your neighbors, and we've got all of those things. To boot, we've got even a natural characteristic of the topography that's slightly rolling, which goes down into a pond and has a natural walking trail that's really nice for the women and children that spend their time there. The second slide shows everything in yellow is the PD, and then the third slide shows the district intent for the permitted uses. And that's, again, the real reason that we're here is to amend those. However, we are not adding square footage. We are not subdividing. We're not here for a major or minor plat. We are simply trying to renovate two of the existing houses that are on campus. A lot of this got stirred up because when we realized we needed a building permit, Mr. Wallace said, "Have you gone through planning and zoning?" And we looked at him and said, "Well, that's a good question." So when we got into it, we realized that the PD needed to be amended. So that's why we were here. But there were some rumors about us adding office buildings and towers and kind of Facebook-ish things, and none of those are true. If anyone has any questions about the zones and the campus, I'd be happy to answer all of those. The rest of the slides just show you some imagery of the facility, and then also some of that imagery is a testament to Councilman White's questions, which was how does this facility relate to the Freedom House, and why is it different than some of the state options that are there for treatment? And so one of the biggest differences is just the nature of this facility. I don't know if a lot of you have seen it or been back there, but it's a really nice facility. Open community hall, it's groomed nicely, and so that really starts the difference in treatment, is when someone arrives there, they feel safe and they feel secluded. The second thing for the Freedom House, and I would like to read just something off of their website real fast, and how it relates is, Freedom House uses evidence-based clinical services that model of recovery and holistic family-centered treatment. Freedom House addresses the cycle of addiction with children while simultaneously treating their mothers. The program offers individual, group, and family counseling, substance dependency education, parenting classes, life skills training, nutrition classes, vocational training, and employment services, and child care services. So that's a pretty good description of what it is that they have been doing for the last few years and what they want to continue to do. So we'll hope that you will see the Planning Commission's favorable recommendation that we received, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have a couple.
Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of a way the districts are. Noah's Ark is in my district, but the neighborhoods and the people's in Joe, so I'll let Joe, because I said, I've met, but I didn't hear you say anything about the houses. One of them, I think, you all were damaged from flooding, is what I was told. Don't you have to do some renovation because of flooding?
So there was a water leak in one of the homes because of a busted pipe. And so that's part of the reason also, is that some of these houses, they just are in need of upcare or of upkeep and some general remodeling.
And I didn't hear you mention anything, because at the time, and even at National Night Out, I had several of the community there. You were wanting to renovate the barn that's already on the property, or is that still going to be?
So one of the neighbors had asked during our neighborhood meeting if we had plans, and one dream of Janine's and Family Ark is to ultimately renovate that barn. Right now, that is not in the budget, that is not in the plans or the current proposal. So right now, there are no plans on the table for that.
I just want to ask one more thing, and then I'm going to let Joe. In your public meetings and before the council, have you been truthful and honest, especially to the public?
Have I?
Yes.
Absolutely,
You
to
know, all
the
your
best of my knowledge.
representation. I'm only asking that because we've had that issue in the past. So.
I understand.
And
May I speak on that?
I got one more thing.
Sure.
how many times did you offer to meet with the neighborhoods or had them? You said you had a meeting there and there was like 9. I just want to make sure the public had ample time to address their concerns.
We did. There were 2 meetings all in all. The last one was the one that I attended, which was November 6th.
We had one in the summer as well, town hall meetings to discuss all this.
And then there were additional meetings and phone calls as well. We had a meeting with the president, or vice president of Oak Park, and Councilman Paris as well. She had specific questions, and we wanted to make sure that she could see the facility for herself since she was not able to join the neighborhood meeting.
And we also had another meeting with just concerned neighbors who didn't come to those town hall meetings who had questions. And so we met them individually.
Okay,
And then my other comments were, after the neighborhood meeting, there were about 4 neighbors that stayed for almost an hour after that meeting out in the parking lot. And there was a lot of good, open, honest communication between myself and them about what my experience has been living out off of 62, out in Raintree Ridge, and with the methadone clinic that's been out there. And it was a good, positive conversation just about where I live and how I've dealt with that. But also, I've traveled the country for the last 10 years, building behavioral health hospitals with another group. And what I've learned is it used to not be so accepted to look at behavioral health. But now as a society, more and more people are realizing what good Family Arc and others like this facility do. It's Form G's civic duty to make sure that we represent the right clients. And I know that recently there was an application on the table where it seemed like there may have been some deceivement going, or deceiving presentations happening. That is not what we're about. That's not what Form G is about, and that's not what we want to represent. So we've taken this very seriously.
I appreciate that. And you said that it's not in the budget for the barn. Because as it explained to me, it was going to be a venue to try to generate some revenue for the upkeep of the homes and all of that. Because I know that time at National Night, I had several that, and Joe may have heard this or not, but it was really concerned because traffic on Allison Lane, that was the #1 concern. So if you do put it in the budget, you get your approvals here or what, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. When that changes, just be open and honest with the public and to the city council.
Absolutely. And so maybe to put some ease on that, there's about, and I don't know, I don't have the figures in front of me, but I think it's 4,100 or 4,800 cars on Allison in that stretch right now. And so when you look at the amount of cars that are coming in, even with increased activity, which again, we're not adding square footage, so we can't even count that in this application or proposal, we're 1% of that traffic. Let's say if you had 100 cars, we would still be within that 5% range. So to your point, we still have to come forward with an application and a building permit if we were going to renovate that space.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like you to speak to, when we visited, you were mentioning the success rate with your program, and I haven't heard you, if you would share that. Just
Absolutely.
The differences maybe.
Just the success rate. We did have an alumni of the program that came and spoke at the Planning Commission. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight, but she's a success story that Janine probably should expand on.
Joe, are you specifically asking about the Freedom House model or just in general what we've been doing with behavioral health services?
In general, what you've been doing, how
Okay.
the stay is longer, and so they're having more success, not coming back.
Right. So what we have found, and I'll let Christy speak to it, is the research has shown that if you allow mothers who are in need of treatment to maintain their custody of their children and have their children with them while they're receiving that treatment, then obviously the treatment is more successful. But I'll let Christy speak to that as well. But also, I think some of the things we talked about is right now our focus is complex trauma of kids. In our behavioral health center, 85% of the kids that of the patients in general that we're serving are children, and 70% of that is under the age of 11. And 85% of the kids are Medicaid recipients. Just speaks to the target population of the kids that we're serving. And so most of those kids are coming from the Department of Child Services. So I'll just say that as a setup to what Christy was saying.
Okay.
Sure.
So as Janine said, we have been working with kids, and the one component that has been missing is the family component, and we really want to engage moms. And so we've been working with moms more closely for about the last year, and we really just want to intensify and increase those services because it is best outcomes. Indiana's outcomes for kids coming into care, into foster care, are rising. I mean, they're on the actually decline now, but they had been rising. And so we want to keep kids and their families together so that the outcome for not only the child but the mom is better. And so by wrapping around the whole family, we're able to have a higher success rate actually. And that's kind of been our mission. You can't serve the kids without serving the family.
Any other questions? Yeah. When you have these mothers that's in need of treatment, who provides the treatment for them?
We have licensed clinical social workers and licensed clinical addiction counselors that provide the treatment services for the moms. And then licensed clinical social workers that are treating all the kids right now.
Is there any aftercare or long-term care that they're mandated to go to, something like Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yes, a requirement to attend 12-step recovery meetings like AA, NA, there's Recover Out Loud, Celebrating Recovery. Any of those would be acceptable, but they will be required to get into a program, obtain a sponsor, and be actively working that.
And one of the things that we've noticed with different programs is they're usually a 10-10-10, which is less of a success rate because of the amount of time. This is a 30 to 45 day and then a 3 to 6 month program after that to drive home and create that habit of going to the correct classes and enhancing your education.
And that 3 to 6 month program, we're helping them transition back out into the community with appropriate housing and employment and all of those stabilizing factors.
I was involved in both the Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous programs, and without that program, it took me 5 years to overcome my addiction. And without that program, I would have never made it. So that's one of the reasons why I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the council?
I'll just make a comment that this is similar to what we do at Child Place, a little different population, but I know Janine personally, work with her very closely, locally and at the state level. And Family Art does good work, and I'm supportive of this, and appreciate what you do and stepping out trying to help these young ladies.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the council? Seeing none, this is a public hearing, so we're going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against or regarding this rezone for 2019 OR 70? The two people who signed up, I imagine, are you two, Denise and Christy? Okay. No one else here to speak regarding this issue? Seeing no one, we're going to go ahead and close public hearing. With that, open the floor for a motion.
We'll make a motion to approve 2019 OR 70.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 70. Again, this is a rezone, so it's a one and done kind of vote. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Merkley, another rezone. This will be 2019 OR 71, rezone for 2105 Hamburg Pike. This is item number 15, and the two people who signed up for that. And this will be a public hearing, so you'll have a chance to talk. Mr. Merkley.
This is a rezoning application that comes to you from the Planning Commission with a favorable recommendation to rezone property at 2105 Hamburg Pike from C2 medium to large scale general commercial to M3 high density multifamily residential. The applicant is the Marion Group, and this is to build a senior living facility at this location, and I believe Jake Elder is here to represent the Marion Group and proceed.
Jake, you need me to move out of the way? No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Merkin.
Thank you.
Jake Elder, attorney at law, 2500 Forest Creek Court, Lanesville, Indiana. Here before you tonight representing the Marion Group, based out of Louisville, Kentucky, and requesting a change in zone designation from C2 to M3. This past Tuesday, we had a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission, as well as a favorable approval of the development. The two people who are involved on page 3 is really just a testament to what the city of Jeffersonville has been about over the last about decade. Just continuous growth in the right way. The Marion Group is a regional real estate firm, construction. They specialize in affordable market rate multifamily and assisted living facilities. Also, Gardent is the operator. Gardent is the 10th largest operator in the United States, and they are the single largest operator in the state of Illinois. They manage just under 6,000 units. I think it's 5,780 units, and they've won numerous awards throughout of their operations. On page 4, you'll see the property identification. It's the vacant lot at the corner of Dutch and Hamburg Pike. It's been vacant for as long as I can remember, at least a couple decades here in the city. It's adjacent to Watson's, Van Cleef's HVAC, as well as adjacent to the Marathon. It has an assessed value of about $14,600 today. It's zone C2. It's part of the commercial district overlay as well. Page 5, you'll be able to look at the type of rendering and the quality of the building that they are going to invest here in the city of Jeffersonville. It's going to cost approximately $28 million. They should have 130 units, and the average resident is going to be essentially my grandmother, an 80-plus-year-old female who just needs help, maybe washing her hair, putting her clothes on, remembering to take her medication. It's also going to create just about 60 new jobs here in our community, part-time and full-time employment. Page 6 is the site plan. When the owner originally met with the planning director, or the former planning director, Mr. Nathan Pruitt, they had a straight building. There was no bend at it, as you can tell, almost a letter J or a backwards L. But Nathan thought that it would be best to have some level of streetscape up front, so they went back and took those recommendations back to Studio A and made the necessary adjustments. Page 7, you'll just see some additional colored elevations. The quality of design, the undulations, all brick, fiber cement board. There'll be one piece of EFS just for an accent piece. So the view that you're looking at is after you go in, you pass the, I guess the little L shape there. This is the front entrance. On page 8, this would be if you were staying at the back of the property, next to the creek, looking forward on Hamburg Pike. Page 9, this is if you were on the most northeast side of Walnut Ridge at an elevation. So you can kind of see from that long side from where the car and auto body shop is. And on page 10, this is going to be at the ground level if you're looking at the corner right there at Walnut Ridge in the most northeast corner as well. The comprehensive plan sets forth a number of goals and objectives, but this project really meets two of the goals, I feel. One is to promote planned growth that results in distinct and deliberate development. I think a $28 million assisted living facility on 3.93 acres is very distinct and deliberate in that corridor. You have a lot of development in your downtown area, you have a lot of development in the Veterans area, and out on 62. But in that strip of the corridor around Spring Street, I really think this could add to that area. Also, C2 is to be used for most large-scale general businesses, and in a lot of other communities and municipalities, assisted living would fit in a C2. However, in the city of Jeffersonville, it would either be in an M2 or an M3 designation. Also, Goal 8 states to provide a range of housing options and price ranges to attract a variety of residents. And the city has done a great job with that, with introducing a lot of multifamily, kind of spaced out in the community, as well as other developments. Assisted living is a need in the city of Jeffersonville, and this project fills that need. If you'll turn to page 12, there are certain objectives. The comprehensive plan sets forth, these are benchmarks to see kind of where boards and the council and the mayor, where everybody's headed. And there are several of them that I'd like to point out. H1 states the increase of availability of safe, decent, and affordable housing. And this definitely meets H1. H4 is prepare abandoned sites for reuse and development. Now, while this site may not have been abandoned, it's definitely been vacant for decades, and it will achieve objective H4. H6 is to encourage multifamily housing and single-family housing in appropriate areas that provide a range of housing prices and options. This definitely meets that element. And H10 really hits the nail on the head. Develop senior housing options, and we can check that box. Page 13 is the last page of the presentation, but I had the opportunity to meet with a lot of the adjacent property owners. Mr. Jahan at the marathon was in favor. He thinks it would definitely be a benefit to the area. The Mocks, I met with them. They were very excited about this type of development and improvement within the city. And I left a card on Mr. Van Cleef's door, and we had just missed each other, but he was gracious enough to let me come to his house. We sat at his dining room table, and kind of reviewed it. He was very excited about the development. And then you'll see a text message just back and forth with myself and Mr. Julius. He and I were able to meet for coffee and review the plans, and he really didn't have any objections to it. So at the end of the day, I think this is a significant investment into the city. I think there's a need that's been identified, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
This is probably getting off the subject of, should have been done in planning and zoning, but I'm assuming there's going to be elevators
Yes, ma'am.
in this. Have you all consulted too with the layout and all that? The reason why I say is because I know the issues that we've run in with Claysburg, with first responders, to get with them and if this passes and you move forward, so they get the little...
They will
and I'm getting way ahead of myself, but that's been an issue when you're sitting there listening to runs and stuff.
Right.
That's been a huge issue.
They will absolutely get with them to make sure the layout is sufficient. Interestingly enough, this exact group is building almost an identical model in Columbus, Indiana right now. And it should be open here within the next 6 months.
Well, I'm glad to see this, for one, because, of course, both my parents have passed, but there wasn't anything like this. And I look back and how I took care of them, because my mom, she went to stay in her home, and we did all that we could, but to have a safe place like this, because we had other ones that were even approved or whatever that they pulled out. I think there was another one that was in your district at one time, so I'm in favor of this. Because, like I said, it's a huge need, and the layout is really curb appealing, I guess is the word.
Absolutely.
The only thing is, if you ever present to council again, if you give something to the clerk, which that'll be me next time.
I have an extra copy, happy to do that.
Well,
right
just
now.
so they would have been able to put it up to give the benefit of the public to be able to see what it looked like and what you were planning.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I have a question. Development plan, that we're still at zoning, so there was no development plan submitted at the same time or anything like that?
Yes, there was.
There was?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was approved as well?
Yes, sir.
And that wasn't included at all?
It was not. I had about a 40-page presentation that I went through BZA and Planning Commission and didn't want to belabor
The reason I ask is that from a flow of traffic situation, I just always like to look at that. And it's not, I know it's not a rezone, it's a development plan. But
no, I can address that question. So Mr. Banis was here, and he's the VP of Development. And, I mean, they've got this down to pretty much a science, but every unit, it's about a 0.5 to 0.6 park, because if they're living in this facility, they're just really not driving, or very few of them are. And so with it being at the light and minimal transportation, I don't believe it's going to affect traffic at all.
So it's going to square up with Dutch Lane as far as entrance and exit?
If you look at the site plan on page 6, coming out of it, it will. Yes, sir.
And deceleration and acceleration lanes?
They don't have them on here because I guess it's at a light, so you can turn.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the council?
If the council passes this rezoning, and for some reason this project doesn't come to fruition, is it possible to require the property to go back to the previous zoning?
Be a question for your attorney.
Not at this point, is it?
They'd
Wouldn't
have
that
to
have
come
to
back
be
and
a
request.
condition approved by the Planning Commission? Yeah.
Because both bodies have to agree to that.
Correct.
I see where you're going with that, Mr. Ellis. That would be nice.
It's a 70. 71.
Give me that public hearing. Is there any need to push this through? Would you be against taking it a little bit longer and having that condition added to the rezone?
The owner is actually traveling, couldn't be here. However, they would like to have this pushed through if at all possible, and if that is a condition to it, I don't believe that they would object.
The easier way to do it would be to put a condition on there that it be multifamily for purposes of
Senior assisted living.
senior assisted living.
Yeah, because we did that in that area out by you, Les. We made that contingent upon
But
that.
it still goes back to the plan commission.
Yeah, but I'm trying to push my head on the statute. I think if you make a change, and it goes back to planning commission, if the planning commission does not act within so many days, then you're, whatever you decided prevails. So I don't know, something makes me think it's 60 days, but I'm not positive.
And if I may, I don't foresee this being an issue, and I understand it's a concern. You always want to make sure to anticipate, to mitigate anything that could possibly happen, but they've worked on this for a very long time. You have an operator who, this is what they do. They operate assisted living facilities. They spend tens of thousands, if not more, getting with the architect, getting the renderings, and making sure to go through the proper protocol. So I don't foresee this being an issue. They're very excited about this site, and they want to bring it around as soon as possible.
And all
Is
their
the
approvals,
contract-
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Are you?
Is the contract to buy the land
Yes, contingent on rezone.
contingent on rezoning? And
It needs to be rezoned.
would you assure us that if the project did go through, that you would contact the city council directly and let us know?
I personally will contact. If I have informed by my client that they decided not to move on, I will report back here, and I will write a letter to the president.
And that would give us the opportunity to change it back?
Yes, sir.
And we could request that zoning to go back to what it was,
Right.
regardless of who the property owner is at that point,
At that time.
which is what we've done in the past.
You can always zone it
Yes.
back on your own.
Right.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Let the public speak. Is there anyone here to speak for, or against, or regarding the rezone at 2105? There's two people who signed up, and you're welcome to come up at this time. Brother Jacob, and I guess Matthew Carr.
This is Mr. Carr, just if there were any additional questions.
Oh, okay, so you're, okay. Is there anyone in the general public who'd like to speak regarding this issue? Seeing no one, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing.
Make a motion to approve 19 OR 71.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 71, and again, this is a rezone, so it's one and done. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next up, item number 16. An ordinance establishing salaries for elected officials. Mr. Merkley.
This is an ordinance that Heather and I are trying to be proactive with our friends at the State Board of Accounts. The General Assembly adopted a new law that went into effect back on July 1 that amended the statute in reference to the ordinance dealing with the salary for elected officials. If I could get my statute being 36-4-7-2, and what the legislature did was they said, the previous law was, is that the legislative body is to fix the compensation for all elected officials. However, the new law now defines what compensation is. It's a very broad definition. The statute now says compensation is to include insurance, retirement benefits, and pension benefits. Our existing ordinance, salary ordinance for elected officials, addresses some of those issues, but not all of those issues. Heather and I believe that it would be to everyone's best interest that we address that now, as opposed when having an audit this time next year, having to answer the questions with the State Board of Accounts. I've been working with AIM and with other cities and towns, trying to see if there was a model ordinance out there. There is not. I came up with this. I'm still hoping to get back feedback from AIM on this before we do a final reading at your next meeting. But primarily the significant change to what is currently the ordinance is if you go to section 6, 7, and 8. Section 6 is a new section that deals with insurance, basically other benefits, and I felt there was no need for us to rehash all of those benefits. We have a policy and procedure manual that was adopted by both the Board of Public Works and the City Council, and I've just referenced those pages that would apply to the benefits for the elected officials. Heather and I believe that should satisfy the State Board of Accounts. And then also under Section 7, we reference any stipends that elected officials would receive as a result of serving on boards and commissions, and we just referenced it because those are in the general salary ordinance that's adopted every year by the council, so we've referenced that. And then in Section 8, we've made it clear that this is the total compensation for the elected officials as required by the statute. So I would ask that you pass this on first or second reading. I'm hoping by the next meeting we'll have some feedback from AIM to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. We're just trying to head off an issue with the State Board of Accounts, because the last thing I want is we have an audit and then an issue be raised as to whether or not elected officials were entitled to certain benefits such as insurance and be asked to repay that. I don't think anybody would want to do that. So.
And, of course, Les, you answered my questions when I talked to you earlier on sections.
That is the only thing that's changed in this, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, but I don't remember in number 3, because it says elected officials, especially as city council receiving a stipend or receiving a city self.
That was it. That's been in the last 2 or 3 I looked.
It's a line item in our budget.
It is?
I don't believe anybody really utilizes it, but it's a line item in our budget.
Well, I think in the past, it's either been you take that stipend or you take the tablet that was provided, and the tablet had service to it or something.
That was before 4 years ago.
It's been a long time.
For a while, we tried to have all electronic devices and no paper, and that's what we provided and continue with that, although we kind of went back to paper because it was a challenge. We had some technical difficulties at various meetings that kind of got us back to paper.
So I just need first or second reading, and we'll hopefully have some feedback from AIM between now and the 16th. You're comfortable with this, right?
Yeah.
Because she's the one that would get written up if we don't address these issues.
Motion to approve 19 OR 72 on the first and second.
Second.
Have a motion and second to pass 2019 OR 72 on first and second reading. Any other discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
He's talking low tonight.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next up, Ms. Metcalf, 2019 OR 73, ordinance transferring certain funds within the same department.
This should be the last transfer of the year, obviously. So the first 16,000 is for a vehicle for engineer, I believe, right? That's the one that Lisa, you had mentioned. The second one is miscalculation of the payout of our safety manager, so we need slightly a little bit more on that account. Then we have sanitation for water and sales tax. The accrued benefits for the IT department is an account for their buyback that you can buy back 2 weeks of pay. That number was stayed the same even though the pay increased, so we just had to make up that little difference. And then the professional services for the IT department is to upgrade the website.
I just want to make one note, of course, the transfers to the department is what I like to see, but just to keep in mind for next year, sanitation has really been struggling all year long just to pay their utilities, and that could be an issue to hear down the road, so I just wanted to make a note of that for next council to kind of keep an eye on. But to pay the regular bills, they've been struggling. So I'll make a motion to approve 2019 OR 73 on first and second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 73 on first and second reading. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilder, attorney comments.
Nothing to report.
Department heads, anyone here from any department heads here to speak? Seeing none, there's no one else in public comment, so city council comments. Mr. White.
No comment.
Mr. Ferris.
No comment.
Mr. Maples.
No comment.
Ms. Gill.
Yes, Ed, I talked to you earlier today. I want to request a workshop starting at 6:15 before our last meeting, December 16th. Received a phone call. Do you remember when Jim Moon came and spoke before us, and they were trying to get a plan together and all that for Haven House? He just wants to have the opportunity, he said it'd be about 20 minutes, to let you know what's been done, what's their plan, just to bring the council up to speed on the Haven House.
So what time?
6:15.
That's more than 20 minutes.
Would we not be more prudent to save that conversation for a new council that takes over after the next meeting?
Well, he'll just have to come back.
I mean,
Can we
okay.
put it on the agenda for the next meeting instead of a workshop?
Sure.
I'll have to make sure that he's available. He requested it. Yeah, that's fine if that's what you want to do. Please put him on the agenda. Can you make a note of that?
That's fine.
And then, I don't know if anybody was going to the celebrity waiter. I think we gave a head count of 2, but Matt has it. And I'm glad that Bobby did a moment of silence for Sandy Knott. Her passing, was she's a real pillar of this community and contributed a lot. And Matt even knows he's been here from day one when we were in the parks. And Sandy with the green team, and she was about the weeds in the parks, and she's with Bob Hedge. And I know with my role in JNLA and setting up neighborhood associations, we all refer to Cherry Hills bylaws, and they were actually 401c3. So if we needed any kind of grants or anything, she kind of spearheaded that under their umbrella. But she'll be dearly missed. And also wanted to recognize in the audience, we have former council members Connie Sellers here with her husband Steve. We have Mike Smith and Dennis Julius. So I just wanted to acknowledge their presence. Hi, guys. Thank you all for being here.
Mr. Hawkins.
Very quickly, clerk, I don't know if anybody else is having this problem. When I get sent an email, the agenda in the email, random numbers of pages are blacked out. Is that happening to anybody else? Like maybe every 5th or 7th page or so, you can't read it, it's just blank. I don't know, that's me. If I'm doing something or what, I just wanted to bring that up.
What device are you using?
And
It's what level of clearance you have.
mine would be the lowest. Definitely the lowest. Redacted, yes, it is a redacted document. So. Also, like Lisa, I see the future council members and former members. Good to see you. Thank you for your frugal nature leading up to my time on the council. And future members, pay attention to their frugal nature when you come on. That's it.
Mr. Owen.
Wanted to ask Mr. Elder, since he was still in the audience, if he had an idea of what the investment would be into this property and close to the downtown. Do you know what the development investment amount would be?
Yes, sir. It's going to be approximately $28 million.
28?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's fantastic. $28 million in a part of the city that's laid stagnant for a little while. It's going to be a great shot in the arm for that end of Jeffersonville. That's all I wanted to also recognize everybody, that our former council members and current commissioner who's in attendance.
Mr. Ellis?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would like to do is thank the members that will be leaving, especially you, Ed, because you're not going to be able to be here at our next meeting. And I'd like to tell you how much of a joy it has been working with you. And for Lisa and Nathan here, I would truly like to thank you for all the time that we've been able to spend together and how much help you've given me. And I also recognize our former city council persons and look forward to working with Bill Burns, although we've been working with each other for a number of years now on the Parks Authority. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Mr. Sandler.
Yeah, just a couple things. One is future clerk, you already addressed it, but I would hope that we require that the people that are giving presentations submit it electronically so it can be seen by the audience. And if not, maybe say you can't present tonight. I mean, I think it's important. I think it's important. And I just encourage the council to consider that for sure. I appreciate seeing former council members and future council members and also county commissioner Sellers out there tonight. I would be remiss if I didn't comment. My wife's here. She doesn't come to meetings, so something special is tonight, I guess. It's a good night. It's a good night, and I appreciate her. I will say that I will have some comments at the next meeting, as you would expect. But I did realize it was Ed's last night, kind of what Ron said. I do have a couple comments I want to say for the record, and just in appreciation for Ed. I've worked with Ed for over 16 years. Even prior to me being on the city council, we worked together on the redevelopment commission, and I really appreciate that time. Ed is extremely knowledgeable, and he's been a strong leader for this community for over 16 years. He's a big picture thinker, and that's what he does. In his day job, he travels a lot, and I can't tell you how many times I get a phone call from Ed saying, hey, I got this idea, or look at what I saw, up and wherever he was at. It would always seem to float or surround planning and zoning that he noticed, parks, sidewalks, or aesthetics, and certainly art that he would see. But it was always the conversation of, we need to get this in Jeffersonville. And I appreciate Ed reaching out and pushing me and others on the council as well. Just a few facts about Ed. Out of the current council up here, he's the longest serving councilman and has served the city council since 2004 through 2019. 16 years he served on the following boards and commissions. He was the president of this council 4 times, and he also served as the president of the Parks Authority for many years. He also served as the president of the Redevelopment Commission. He is currently the president of the Arts Commission. He's led fire and police negotiations many times, which is a horrible job.
That's a bear.
He served on the Planning and Zoning Commission for many years. Over the years, Ed's worked hard to improve the finances of the city, the appearance of the city, and the quality of life for our residents. That is to be noted. And it's been my honor, Ed, and privilege to work side by side with you over the years. You've made a tremendous mark on this community in Jeffersonville, and it's been greatly improved by your leadership and efforts, and you will be missed. So,
thank you, Ed.
After we close, we're going to give Ed this plaque, and then we'll take a picture and all that. But I won't have everybody endure all that. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Nathan. I really appreciate that. And I do have some comments, so you have to bear with me. But before I do my comments, I want to end on my comments. But so before that, I want to recognize some of the other council members who are leaving us after dedicated service to the city. First, Lisa Gill. It's been great working with you the last 8 years. You've had 8 years of dedicated service. You focused a lot on sewers, drainage. You stayed on top of all the EPA issues, and you worked and led the council for, I think, 3 years. Mm-hmm. 3 of your 8 years as president. And also worked on planning and zoning. And even before you got on the council, you were very much involved. Sorry for the council. It's bad for the city if we're going to lose you on the council. But what's great is you're going to stay with us in the role of city clerk. So thank you so much for your dedicated service. And let's take a picture afterwards. Okay, I have a plaque for Lisa. City Council 2012 to 2019. And of course, Nathan. We've been on here a long time, Nathan. Nathan came to the city council back in 2007. 2007. He was appointed to the city council. He wasn't originally elected, but he's been elected quite a few times since. But he was appointed to city council to fill Phil McCauley's seat, who resigned. Since that time, Nathan served 13 years on the city council, and during those 13 years, Nathan, I've really enjoyed working with you, and you've made a huge impact in our community. You've helped shape the future of Jeffersonville by serving on various committees and casting a lot of important votes. Some of the key accomplishments I think that Nathan is proud of and that the city should be proud of and everybody here should be proud of is he's made an impact in fire and safety. He's proud to be part of adding 63 professional safety personnel in the city, 34 additional police, 29 additional firefighters, and that's through 2007 to 2020. He was also involved in some of those tough negotiations. He sat by my side and got beat up during those negotiations, but one of the things he's proud of there, and I am too, is that he implemented a fitness test and a work performance evaluation for the firefighters, which was a big issue at that time. Nathan also worked hard to increase pedestrian safety and expand sidewalks throughout the city and all the different parts of the city. And we continue to do that. Nathan's always been pushing for pedestrian safety. Another thing that Nathan and I share is a love for the parks. Nathan helped with the overhaul and the improvements of a lot of parks in Jeffersonville. When you go back and see what River Stage had to offer before Nathan got there and what there is now, it's continued to expand with additional funding, additional projects. When you look at the Worley Athletics Complex, it did not exist prior. Nathan was a big supporter of establishing the Worley Athletic Complex. The renovation of Vissing Park, which used to be a scary place, overrun, now it's a beautiful place that's used and is safe. In addition, helping with the renovation of Bob Hedge Park and the creation of Chapel Lake Park. Also with Nathan on board, he was a big supporter of adding 2 firehouses, adding the new police station, and also what a lot of people forget about is establishing this and creating this city hall. Before this, it used to be a city-county building, and now we have a city hall. Nathan supported annexation, which was huge at the time. When he first got on board, that was the issue, and it still affects us today in so many positive ways people don't realize, but he was a big supporter of annexation. Nathan, as we know, is a big person as it comes to arts and aesthetics in the city. He helped develop the public art program and set up what's important is a funding stream for that program to continue to grow and thrive. And Nathan was a big supporter of that and really the creator of that. Nathan funded put the processes in place and funding stream for the homeless needs and services an ordinance that we just recently passed. Nathan was the one who championed that homeless needs and services funding stream. And really over the years, Nathan's worked with countless number of citizens and resolved a lot of issues and really worked to cut through the red tape. Throughout the years, Nathan's become a friend. Nathan has been a champion for all the citizens in Jeffersonville. And with that, Nathan, I want to thank you for your 13 years of dedicated service on the City Council. You'll be missed. All right, so this, as Nathan said, this is my last meeting, so I put some remarks together, so please bear with me. 16 years for this service, so, when I was elected to the city council, one simple goal I had was to leave Jeffersonville better than I found it. During the 16 years on city council, as I look back, I focused my efforts on 4 key long-term goals. That was increasing Jeffersonville's political clout and financial strength. 2, increasing and improving Jeffersonville's physical appearance. 3, improving Jeffersonville's park system. And 4, improving the city's management structure. When you go back to when Nathan got on board, when I got on board, a lot of the things we take for granted today did not exist. Regarding political clout and financial strength, that's the reason I strongly supported annexation and why Nathan did as well, and why annexation was so important to Jeffersonville's future. We talk about all the projects that we have going on. We talk about the funding we have. A lot of that is a result of annexation. Before annexation, back when I was elected, our population of the city was about 25,000. We were spending money outside the city limits for a number of amenities, including parks, which I could not believe that was the case. We were spending Jeffersonville tax dollars outside the city limits. And people living just outside the city limits didn't even feel a part of our community. They were adversarial towards the city, which blew my mind. And when I look back, our budget was less than $15 million. We didn't even own our own city hall. Like I said, we actually paid rent to the county to share in the county building, which used to be called the city county building. And today, and after annexation, and a lot of decisions and votes, we have a population of nearly 50,000. We have our own unique city hall. We have a budget of over $50 million. We have new ideas and new blood leading the city. Not enough can be said to what happened with annexation. Without annexation, leaders that we have in the city today, the mayor, Mayor Moore, would not exist because he was outside annexation. Councilman Owen wouldn't be here. Mr. Hawkins, Councilman Hawkins would not be here. So with annexation, we got that new blood. So that was important to me, and I strongly supported that. 2, physical appearance. I'm not from Jeffersonville, so when I moved here, I thought the potential was fantastic, but I also thought, man, we have so much potential to grow our aesthetics. And so during that time, I supported many streetscape projects, spent a lot of time on planning and zoning ordinances with an emphasis on building standards, sidewalk requirements, green space requirements, and establishing signage standards to improve the city's appearance. Also during that time, I took a leadership role along with Nathan to create a mechanism and a funding for the Jeffersonville Arts Commission to improve visual arts in Jeffersonville. I'm proud to play a major part in improving our city's ordinance and taking an active role in updating planning codes and creating and expanding public art. Regarding the parks, when I was first elected in 2004, the city was, like I said, spending money outside the city limits. Visiting Park was a scary, overgrown place. Worley Athletic Complex did not exist. The Big Four Park did not exist. The city had no large parks, and there was not a long-range plan in place. The problem with the Parks Department back then was the lack of funding by the council, because there was conflicts between the mayor and the council, and a lack of consistent parks leadership. As we change, each time a new mayor took over the city's parks resources and plans shifted from this new idea to the next new idea, so things weren't getting done. With the creation of the Parks Authority controlled by the City Council in 2009, the issue of stability and funding were corrected, or the issue of instability was corrected, and if there was a focus on long-term planning and the need for larger and better planned city parks. Although the parks have gone back to the mayor, I think a lot of the ideas and the seeds that were planted back during the Parks Authority controlled by the council have rooted and have blossomed. We fast forward today, and I'm proud to have played a big part in renovating Visiting Park, the creation of the Worley Athletic Complex, and push for long-range plans, expanding River Stage, and the creation of the large park on the east end. Improving, and then going to Jeffersonville's management structure, it's amazing to see how all the things we do today is just taken for granted. This was created by a lot of people. And, council members, employees, citizens take for granted a lot of the city processes, procedures, and functions that occur, thinking that, it's the mayor's responsibility, or we've always been done this way. But Nathan knows, because he was there, and Ms. Sellers, she knows those weren't there. And here's just one example. I could go on for a long time, and I already have, but I'm going to continue for a little bit. One great example is when I was elected, there was no HR director. There was no human resource department. Can you imagine that? There was no resource department. There were no job descriptions. There were no salary ranges. There were no hiring standards or procedures. I mean, what happened was the mayor said, well, I need somebody, or I need to replace somebody. They get paid about, $30,000, and he needs $35,000. Council, will you hire this guy for $35,000? It's like, well, what's his background? What did he do? Well, he can get the job done. You didn't know, there was no standards whatsoever. So there was no job description, no salary range, no hiring standards. All the functions were done under the mayor's control. As long as you can get the council to vote for it, they were hired, or the position was created. And back at that time, there were a lot of employment-related complaints and lawsuits. That happened on a fairly regular basis. That's all gone, thank God. And that was a big step to move some management structure into Jeffersonville. We fast forward today, and I'm proud to have played a part in that. One other thing we didn't have a risk manager for the city. For our employees who go out there and work hard and put their lives on the line sometimes. They're working with traffic. We didn't have a risk manager to kind of help improve the safety for our employees. Also, look at planning and zoning and updating and expanding our zoning codes. That was big. And increasing our planning and zoning department. Designing designation of financial structure. And this is something that comes up a lot of times is spending money on streets, sidewalks, public art, and for the homeless now. You have an idea, you do it one time and say, hey, we need some sidewalks improved, we need some arts program. You do it one time, but what about next year? What about the next year? So one of the things that I worked on, Nathan worked on, and some of the other council people who are here is setting a standard where every year we're going to take some of the edit money and put it in sidewalks, and put a sidewalk master plan that continues every year. And same thing with the streets, and we've done it for public art, and we've done it now for the homeless. So, city decisions don't happen in a vacuum, and over the years I've been blessed to work with some great elected officials and some fantastic city employees, dedicated people. There's not time to name everybody, but I'm blessed to work with some really good council people over the last 16 years, and I do want to name some of them. Some of them who mentored me when I first got here. That would be like Councilman Ron Grooms, who's now state senator. Phil McCauley was fantastic as far as leading understanding the finances of the city, setting up the TIF districts and explaining that to the council and to me, as well as doing the contract negotiations. And some of the other people who are actually here, I didn't know they would be here, but Connie Sellers had a big impact to annexation and a strong backbone getting things done. And I mentioned John Perkins. People are like, oh my gosh, you're going to mention John Perkins. He was a Democrat, and a lot of the Democrats did not support annexation. That was, thank you, Mr. Samuel, for doing it. It was a big picture. Some people looked at this as a political ploy. It was not a political ploy. It was a long-term, great idea, and Mr. Perkins recognized that. Mike Smith, appreciate your service and working with you over the years. Ms. Gill and Nathan. I also want to thank Mayors Tom Galligan, who made a big impact in the city, Mayor Rob Ways, who made a positive, good impact and continues to do so. We always have disagreements I've had disagreements with all these mayors, but they've all had positive impacts, including our current mayor, who's had a lot of positive impact over the last 8 years, and I'm sure he will over the next 4. When I first came to my first council meeting in 2004, I walked into a shared city-county building representing 25,000 citizens with a lot of financial challenges. It's amazing how much money we have now compared to what we used to have. I won't even go there. And he really had no real momentum or identity. We're trying to figure things out. And I leave today a city with its own city hall, its own identity, a city with twice the population, solid management structure, better zoning codes, a city with a public art scene, a city with a very strong balance sheet, which I'm proud of, and a city with a lot of positive momentum. I believe I've fulfilled my goal of improving Jeffersonville, and I challenge the next council to make Jeffersonville better than they find it today.
Meeting adjourned.